Hello everyone again. We finally get to do some new content. We've been reviewing now for a little bit. Let's dive right in. I'm worried about getting this in 15 minutes, but let's go. All right, discrete random variables. To start off with, here's the warm-up. Go ahead and pause the video right now and give this a shot. All right, once you've tried it, the answers are right here. I'm going to move on for time's sake, but as always, if you want to chat on any of those, we certainly can. Um, Real briefly, I want to review some of these vector properties with you all. Find the angle between two vectors. That's that formula cosine theta equals a dot b over the magnitude of a times the magnitude of b. Um, Remember, these angles need to be acute, so your dot product should be positive. If it goes negative, just make it positive. Find a unit vector for a given vector. So unit vector, remember, that means it has a length of 1. So find its current length, maybe it's 28, and multiply by 1/28. Just take its length and multiply by its reciprocal. Parallel and perpendicular vectors. Remember, parallel vectors are just a scalar multiple of each other. For example, the vector 1, 1 is parallel to the vector 5, 5. They're just a multiple of each other. Now, perpendicular vectors, our shortest test for that is that the dot product equals 0. If you forget that, you can go back to the angle between two vectors and set it equal, but that'll end up giving you the same thing again. The dot product will equal 0. 3D vector line equations. Remember those ones. I actually will go over and show you vector line equations. Those are the ones that is r equals some position vector plus some parameter times some direction vector. Remember our direction vector here, if you're asked to find the speed of it, just find the magnitude of this. This is just any arbitrary starting point for that. Now back over here, if we're asked to find the intersection of two lines, almost always these are 2D lines. With 3D it gets a little crazy, but for line intersections, we're again just setting these equal to each other. So maybe I'm setting this line equal to a secondary line for, I don't know, maybe two cars are intersecting or something. Set it to its position vector. Maybe this is some position vector. And now if this was t, this needs to be something different. S, let's say 1, I don't know, 1, 3. Set those equals, solve for x, solve for y, systems of equation type stuff. That's how you do that. If you'd like more, just ask me later. I want to give us time for the main topic. All right, discrete random variables. This is connected to what we've done, but it is new. So this is going to build off our idea of what random variables are. Earlier in the year, we saw discrete variables and continuous variables. Remember, discrete variables are things that can be counted. These are integers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Continuous variables, these are things that are measured. They have decimals. Weights, anything that's measured is generally a continuous variable. So let's test ourselves. Go ahead and pause for a second and try each of these and ask yourself, is it continuous or is it discrete? Okay, hopefully you had a chance to give that a shot. The quantity of fat in a sausage, that's definitely continuous. That's a measurement. The mark out of 50 for a geography test, that's definitely discrete. That's going to be a number. The weight of a 17-year-old student, again, it's a measurement, so that has to be continuous. The volume of water in a cup, also continuous. That's a measurement. The number of trout in a lake, while that might be hard to count, it's technically an integer. There is a value there. That's discrete. The number of hairs on a cat. I would not want to count this or be involved in this, but technically you can count it. There is an exact number, discrete. The length of hairs on a horse. Again, measurements are always continuous type variables. And the reason we have to be good at this distinction for continuous or discrete is there's different set of tools. Discrete has its own set of tools and continuous has its own set of tools. To start off with, we're looking at these discrete variable tools, and later on here in a week or so, we'll look at the continuous variable tools. So just know there's two categories of things, and they have different tools because they're just different things. Okay, so just to start off as an early example, let's imagine we're flipping two coins. So defining x. X is our random variable. So x is defined, big X, not little x, big X is defined as the number of heads. So the probability of our number of heads equaling 0, or probability of the number of heads equaling 0, if we have two flips, it's going to be 1/4. Now you might think this is weird. Why is the probability of the number of heads equaling 1? Over here you see it's 1/2. Well, there's two ways for that to happen. The first one could be heads and the second one tails, or the first could be tails and the second heads, so you add those two paths together to get 1/2. Make sure you can do that. And then finally, the probability x equals 2, or the probability of the number of heads equals 2. Well, there's only one way for that to happen. heads and heads, which is 1/2 times 1/2, so you should get a quarter. Now here we can also be asked, what's the probability x is greater than 0? Well, here we just look at these, you can add those together, and hopefully you get 3/4 for that one. All right, let's dive in a little bit deeper. All right, so what do you think? The measured rainfall over a 24-hour period in Singapore, the height of water collected in a rain gauge. Identify the random variable being used or being considered. The random variable here is the height of water collected. Give possible values for the random variable. This being a continuous variable, it can be anywhere between 0 and apparently 400 millimeters. And that's it. 500, not possible, it's going to spill, and we're not going to have negative values either. So positive values, 0 to 400. Indicate whether this is continuous or discrete. You guessed it, it is continuous. We're not going to count that measurement. Let's look at another one of these. To investigate the stopping distance for a tire with a new tread pattern, a braking experiment is carried out. The random variable. Our random variable here is the stopping distance. How long is the stopping distance? And apparently they spell tire like the Australians. Anyways, all right. Give possible values for this random variable. Again, we're not going to have a negative stopping distance. We're probably not going to have a million. Well, I guess depending on our units. But this can be any real number. It could be 0.5. It could be 3.6789. It could be any real number greater than 0, probably less than infinity. Indicate whether this variable is continuous or discrete. That's definitely continuous. It's a measurement here. Example 3. To check the reliability of a new type of light switch, switches are repeatedly turned off and on until they fail. My son loves doing this. All right, identify the random variable. The random variable here is, where'd it go? Repeatedly turn off and on. This is just the number of switches, how many flips we can do here. So give possible values for the random variable. Now, this is not going to be 0.5 or 2.6. This is going to be integer values. It's going to break on its 200th flip, or maybe the 3000th flip, but it's going to break on a full flip. So as far as being, these are integers. Integers greater than 0 is what those are going to be. Indicate whether this is continuous or discrete. We can count it, therefore it is discrete. Okay, now there's 2 examples I want to get to, and I was trying to go kind of quick so I'd give us time for these. Consider tossing 3 coins, like the previous example, but now we're 3 coins at the exact same time. The random variable is the number of heads. List the possible values of x. List the possible outcomes resulting in each x. You can read this. Go ahead and pause the video and give this a try. Okay, hopefully you had a chance to try that. For time's sake, here is what you should have something looking like. That graph the probability distribution of your random variable to little x. Hopefully yours looks a little bit prettier than this. I just threw it together real quickly. Notice this is not a histogram, this is a bar graph. There should not be stuff in between. Again, 0.5 or 1.7 makes no sense in this context. Okay, now this is an example I really want to spend some time on. Usually I like to give you guys the meaty questions to do in a pod and have a conversation. We don't have that opportunity now, so I'm going to go over this one. I would encourage you first pause the video, give it a shot. Okay, hopefully you've had a chance to do that, but now I want to go over this one with you. I'm going to make this a little bit smaller and make this a little bit bigger so that you all have a chance to go over this. Let me just give a little bit of zoom too. Zoom. Okay, suppose x is the random variable. What values can x have? Well, x here, x, it could equal 0. 0 of these machines could work. It could equal 1, it could equal 2, it could equal 3, and it could equal 4. Those are the only 5 possible outcomes here. One of those is the number of things that are going to work here. Question 2, tabulate the possible outcomes and corresponding values of x. This is a grind, but let's do it just so we can see how this goes. Well, this first one's pretty easy. For none of them working, that's just an outcome of no, 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 no. Now for 1 working, well, that's a little bit different. Let me do that one here just to keep track of it. Machine A, machine B, machine C, and machine D. Well, the first one could work, and then the rest don't work. No, no, no. Or the second one could work, so we have a no, yes, no, no. The third one could work, no, no, yes, no. Or the last one could work, and the others fail. So there it looks like we have four outcomes there. We have those 4 outcomes for that. Let's look at the possibilities for 2 of these working. Let's again go A, B, C, D. Well, the first 2 could work. Fail, fail. The first and third could work. Or the first and last could work. So that's just if the first one's working. Now let's say the first one's failing. So if the first one fails, well then the second one and the third one could work, with the fourth one failing. Or we could have a fail, a yes, a fail, and a yes. Okay, well now let's say what happens with the third one that we haven't counted so far. So we would have a no, a yes, and a yes. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 outcomes there, 6 outcomes. 4 outcomes here, and don't forget that 1 outcome there. Let's look at 3 now. For 3 of these, let's see what happens. So let's go A, B, C, and D. We could have yes, 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 no. We could have yes, yes, no, yes, yes, no, yes, yes, or no, yes, 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 for 4 outcomes there. And finally, if all 4 of them work, that's a yes, 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 yes. 1 outcome there. Let's add these all up. What is that, 16? Yep, we get 16 here, 16 possible outcomes. Which might make sense. Here we had 2 possible things that can happen. It could either be yes or no, so 2. And 4 trials of 2 things. So you have 2 to the 4th. Well, that equals 16. Okay, so tabulate the outcomes. There we've tabulated those outcomes. Describe using X the event of being exactly 2 devices being accurate. Well, what that means here for C, let me make sure you guys can see this for part C, that's just asking you to write this notation. Probability that big X equals, what is it, exactly 2. So just probability X equals 2. That's all they're asking for there. This next question, probability X equals at least 2 devices being accurate. Well, for this one, that's a probability X at least 2 are accurate, so greater than or equal to 2. All right, for practice, let's graph this probability distribution. For this graph, let me slide this up so you guys can see this a little bit better. Kind of like on that previous one with the coins. On the x-axis, I'm putting the outcomes. We could have 0, 1, 2, 3, or 4. And now we graph each of those probabilities. This one goes up. We had 1 above out of 16. So I'm just going to say 1/16 and close it off there. For 1 working, we had 4/16 or 1/4. I'll just write 1/4 there, up like that. For 2 working, what is that? That's 6/16. So 3/8, 3/8, maybe it goes a little bit higher. For 3 working, it was 4/16 or 1/4 again, 1/4, and then 4 was again 1/16. Important question. Well, first off, that one and that one should be the same height. I messed up. I just made that too tall. Just trying to make that big enough. What should all these add up to? I hope you said 1. Okay. I hope that made sense. If not, as always, don't hesitate to ask me or a classmate will help you out. Okay, onward we go. I have 40 seconds left. For the practice assignment, review the formula packet. I've posted the formula packet there in our Google Classroom or on the link. It's actually there. So here it is. Have a look at this. You need to understand the ins and outs of this, know where everything is. This is a really helpful guide. Please have a look at this in the Drive folder. Next, you should have one of those practice tests completed. I want to get to this piece right here. So your course final for us, each test is worth 20 points. Now you have 4 years of tests, each with a paper 1 and a paper 2, so that's 8 tests total for a whole course final of 160 points. This